Hello, everyone.
Hi, welcome everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, BJ, I was having some audio problems last time. Is this sounding all right?
It does, it does. I think that the rapid response that you had by muting your video audio and calling in, that was a really good solution to that. But I think tonight I don't hear that feedback. I don't.
Okay.
It sounds really good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
If that happens in the future, I think if people use I forgot about this last night, but if they use their participant number, if they have a participant number, that will automatically sync their audio in with their video. So it's not, he had a separate screen for his audio.
Yeah.
It'll connect things.
I'll have to work on that another time.
Yep.
There.
All right. Well, we still have people in the waiting room, so we'll continue to admit people into the meeting and give us a few more minutes for anyone who's lagging behind. Hi, Lena.
Hi there. How is everyone?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Thanks for attending the meeting.
Yeah, I didn't know we did this last month, so I'm sorry I missed it.
Well, I'm sorry that we missed you. Thanks for being here.
I'm turning my video. Oh, I got my little post-it note.
There you are.
I just wanted to say hello, but I'll take my video off because last time my husband walked through and made nachos and everything, and so I didn't think we needed to see all that tonight.
Yeah. It's
okay. So I'm just gonna leave my video off, but I'm here listening. So.
Okay, everything going okay on Westview?
Or Fenway?
Oh, Fenway. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, it's fine. I started a pen pal program over at Wesley Glen with our residents and people on Fenway Road. So we're doing that.
Fantastic. That's cool.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to try putting together a flyer to have everybody go to 311 and do the sidewalk and curb request. So we're going to work on that this month. So
good. That's really good use of your time.
Yeah. Well, I'm way
way
busy.
to reach out to those. It's a great segue to reach out to those at Wesley Glen too.
Yeah, we've gotten a little bit of a response, so nice.
Okay, let's see. Let's see. We've got one, two, three, 4, 5, 6 commissioners. 6 commissioners so far, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. We do have quorum. All right.
We've got their audio on.
Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and get started. And just for those participants who are logging into Zoom, I will be monitoring the waiting room and admitting those who are waiting to join. I believe that's Commissioner Wyman. But while we do the introduction here, I do have everybody muted for the time being, just to eliminate any kind of background noise. So please feel free to mute yourself just to hold back on any dogs barking in the background or kids giggling or anything like that. But we'll go ahead and get started. We'll call to order. Welcome to your Clintonville Area Commission, committed to the undertaking and the preservation of the values of the community through promotion, implementation, and recommendation to city officials. The CAC was empowered in 1974 by the Columbus City Charter to represent the Clintonville community in the discussion of community concerns. By city code, the purpose of the CAC is to afford additional voluntary citizen participation in the decision-making in an advisory capacity and to facilitate communications, understanding, and cooperation between neighborhood groups, city officials, and developers. And we'll go ahead and get started with commissioner updates, with commissioner introductions and district updates. District 1.
I'm David Votero. I represent District 1. It has been very quiet in District 1. I'm sure it's been pretty quiet in most of the districts, but I think people are settling down and learning to deal with the life during the pandemic. We wave to each other, but we keep our distance.
I think we just landed on the moon.
BJ, you're muted.
Thank you. If anybody has any Bluetooth, if you are an observer and you have a Bluetooth device, please do not use it. It's not getting encouraging results. So
I think Kara's up.
I'm sorry.
Kara's up.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. This, I think, is my last meeting, right, BJ?
No, you should be here in June.
Oh, I'm here June too. Okay. Well, I'm just thrilled because my neighbor down the street, Brian, all of a sudden I'm blanking on his last name, but he has won the seat for District 2. And I was supporting him and I'm just thrilled that he won. So I'm really looking forward to having him on the CAC team.
Well, I know that you've already reached out to him and you're helping ramp up his seat, and we really appreciate your succession plan. It's very friendly and encouraging of you, and we appreciate that. So we will miss you.
Oh, I'm gonna miss you guys too.
District 3.
Hi, District 3, Libby Weatherholt. And actually, sometimes it has not seemed so quiet around here just because everybody's out walking, and I've been seeing people I've never seen before. And I walked down Walhalla and I walked down near the railroad tracks and around there, and I'm getting to see all kinds of people I've never seen before, and I see them often now. So it has had its positive points also. And otherwise, traffic on North Broadway has been very quiet up until Sunday evening, and you could tell some people were getting ready to go back to work because the traffic's picked up just a bit.
Well, thank you, Libby, for that update. District 4, District 5, District 4, Judy. Judy has an excused absence. She did have a professional obligation that she had to tend to this evening, so she will not be in attendance. So for recording of the minutes, please mark Commissioner Judy Minister for District 4 as excused. District 5? District 6?
Hi, I have like the Spanish Inquisition light on me right now because it's so dark in here and it's like this big bright light bulb. But hi, I'm Kendra Carpenter. It's been kind of quiet, except really not quiet. We're getting up to noise complaints because we have the Audubon of 315 North by us, and there's a bunch of speeding motorcycles that is preventing residents from enjoying their patios. So I've emailed Catherine about, I don't know, they want extra patrol up there to maybe try to quell that traffic. We're having some issues with 311 not being as responsive as possibly that we'd like on some issues. I'm sure it's just it's par for the course as to where we are now. But other than that, things are pretty quiet.
Well, thank you for expressing those concerns, Kendra. Let us know if Catherine or myself can tag team in helping you get any of those neighborhood concerns resolved. District 7.
Wyman here. Not much report. I did, however, send an email to Columbus City Schools because I learned yesterday that Dominion Middle School will be sitting empty. They're not moving the immersion students into that school like they said they would be. So I want to find out what they're going to be doing with a big empty building in the middle of the district.
Okay, all right. All else going good in District 7? Thank you. District 8.
Hi, I'm Jim Garrison with District 8, and a few things going on. Recently on Thursday, we had a Zoom meeting with the Morse Dominion Blueprint neighborhood and Blueprint with some of their representatives, including Leslie Weatherholt.
No, Westerfeld.
And Westerfeld, sorry.
Yeah.
So one of the things that they wanted to pick up with, they wanted to meet with everyone, but because of the pandemic, they haven't been able to do a face-to-face. So we arranged for there to be a Zoom meeting. They also wanted to get feedback on anyone that might want to put some shrubbery in their rain gardens, in the back of it, between the rain garden and their house. So very specific situation and specific to Morse Dominion. They want to get feedback on that, but they also wanted to address and discuss steps forward for improvements of the rain gardens relative to aesthetics, to safety, and to thoughts on property values to all the houses. So these are discussions that are ongoing. There isn't any kind of official resolution or anything, but this Blueprint does want to. They seem like they want to be engaged with the community still to try to work forward on getting something resolved. Separate to that issue, something new to me in terms of just the discussion, but has been happening for a while, and also seems to have aligned with the installation of the large concrete bioretention basins, is that people are seeing a lot of backyards flooding, and even people who have French drains and other things that they've personally put money out to mitigate, they're still seeing issues now. And there are several different nodes, 200 block, I think, of East Beaumont, 500 block of East Dominion, and then somewhere around Royal Forest, I think 500 or 600 block. So I'm still gathering information about this, and just, we'll forward that information on when I have some more elements. But I'm hearing from residents who have lived here for 30, 40 years, and they've never had flooding come up to their houses and stay as long as it has in the entire time that they've lived here. So I know that we've had a record rainfall, I think in 2018, maybe 2019, but this is just kind of an issue that may have something to do with Blueprint, may not, but it's something that needs to be investigated. And once I get some more information, I'll kind of reach out to a couple people, Catherine and BJ and other people. Aside from that, a lot of the reports that I'm getting, similar to a lot of the other neighborhoods, is that with the pandemic going on and people being shuttered in, they like to drive down the street a lot faster than they normally would, because everything's an emergency all of a sudden. So there hasn't been anything happening, thankfully, so far as I know. But I would like to reiterate to kind of echo some of the things that Kendra has said about unchecked speeding in the wake of the pandemic.
Well, thank you for your leadership in your neighborhood on the Blueprint construction. Really takes somebody who's proactive and willing to engage and kind of lead the way. We really appreciate that. And circling back to us 360 degrees with whatever findings that you uncover in your investigative research and your correspondence with Blueprint. We really appreciate you, Jim. Okay, I guess we are at District 9. I do have some things to report in District 9. I guess not only is it a good time for a lot of people to be out there joyriding on their motorcycles and driving a little bit faster, But it's also a great time for road construction. So I'll take the upside, the brighter side of that conversation and say that we've done a lot of surfacing and curb reconstruction along the High Street corridor. I don't know if many of you have been traveling to your essential trips to Target and Kroger at Graceland, but you may have noticed a lot of curb reconstruction and those voids being repaired, sidewalks being repaired, and pavement from the abundance of potholes with the Coda bus turnaround and just the dense traffic patterns going in and out of Graceland Boulevard. But we've had a lot of curb reconstruction, sidewalk reconstruction, and repavement of the surfaces along High Street. And it's really starting to spruce up. Today they were at the corner of my street at East Canala and High Street, regrading all of the asphalt. So that is a welcome activity, and we are happy to slow our roll as we pass those construction workers and wave and smile at them and yell out a thank you. So that's what's going on in our neighborhood. Otherwise, pretty quiet. Sharon Meadows Park is really becoming quite hustling and bustling with a lot of people out walking, social distancing intact, but it's good to see everybody kind of getting out, getting active, getting some fresh air. So, okay. We will go ahead and conclude our commissioner introductions and district updates. And I will go ahead and take this to Commissioner Nimitz for consideration of prior meeting minutes. And you're muted.
Hi, I'm hoping that everyone received my email with the meeting minutes and the voting record. I heard back from Judy and BJ with some very small edits. So could we vote to consider the meeting minutes?
Would someone like to make a motion? Libby, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Yes, I move to accept the minutes as corrected.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Shall we go ahead and call roll? District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
And I too for District 9 shall vote yes. Okay. Has everyone reviewed the voting record that Commissioner Nimitz sent to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the voting record?
I move.
I'll second.
Okay. District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
And District 9 shall vote yes as well. Thank you. Okay, we will go ahead and move on to Commissioner Carpenter with the treasurer's report.
I don't really have any specific report right now. There are some documents relating to the Treasury that we do need to get in by the end of the month, but I'm working on those and I don't foresee any problems.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that update. And I think we'll go ahead right now while Ann's preparing her election committee report. We're going to go ahead and break and yield some time to our neighborhood liaison, Catherine Cull. I did forget to allocate you some time for your update, Catherine. Please forgive me.
Good evening, everyone. So we are, finally getting our footing and adjusting to working virtually. Sandra Lopez is on here, and we are working collaboratively to be hosting some upcoming meetings. The first meeting we will be hosting is for the Vision Zero project, which was presented to the city right before the stay-in order went into place. But that is a project that is implemented by the mayor's office to really look at eliminating all pedestrian tragedies to zero. So Sandra and I will be hosting a virtual meeting. We will be streaming it so that we can learn more about that project. Secondly, we're going to be hosting a Northside Pride Center meeting. It's going to include your city attorney, your code officers, city council, your social worker, someone from refuse, to provide updates about what is going on right now. Finally, I had the pleasure the other day of walking around with Elizabeth. I really thank you, Jim Garrison, for hosting that meeting last Thursday and bringing some attention to those rain gardens. So she was able to give me a walking tour of the neighborhood, point out some safety concerns and some issues that this neighborhood is really lacking. And I've been able to start the process of working with public service about seeing if this neighborhood can get sidewalks, seeing if this neighborhood can get lighting, and address some of these rain garden issues as well. So as soon as I have more information back from Michael Liggett and Leslie from Blueprint, I will circle back with you guys to update you on that as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And again, I didn't mean to slight you and not allocate room on the agenda. Everybody's kind of out of the norm. So
no, you're fine.
Okay.
I have a question.
Can I make one more comment? My supervisor Toya has joined us as well. So she just messaged me to remind you guys that they're also going to be having we're going to be having an area commission training on May 30th, and that we will be getting a notice out to the area commissioner shortly.
Okay, well, thank you. And I think somebody spoke up and mentioned that they may have a question.
Yeah. Catherine, you said you walked around with Elizabeth. Who's Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, how do you pronounce your last name?
You're on mute.
Elizabeth, Elizabeth, there. I see you, Elizabeth. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Catherine. We had a very hefty walk.
We did. She gave me a good workout.
I didn't realize didn't register that you were that person. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go to our Clinton-Valley Commission Election Committee Chair, Ann Heppner.
Thank you. We had what I feel was a very successful vote this year, considering all the hurdles and all the confusion and all the changes. I think we did pretty well. District 1 and District 9, the incumbents were re-elected with 4 votes and 2 votes respectively. And District 2, Josh Waller got 1 vote, and Brian Piper, I think that's how you pronounce it, got 23 regular votes and 1 provisional vote. And I'll talk about the provisional votes in just a second. So that was pretty much of a landslide. District 5, Brittany Bolton got 14 regular votes plus 2 provisionals. Jess Reebok got 7 votes and 1 provisional. So that one was pretty clear also. I did, there are provisional votes, and the provisional votes are ones where I went to the post office after we went when the time was up, which was on the 23rd. And the official time, and pulled the request for a ballot out and fulfilled those requests. But I had been reading articles that the Franklin County Board of Elections was having a lot of trouble with the first class mail, that things were just really slow. So I went on Monday again and pulled out another 10 envelopes and actually marked those provisional but sent them out, because a lot of those I felt probably had been sent what normally would have been in time, but because of the slow mail was not in time. There were actually 2 more in the mailbox today, so there were very late. They are I haven't opened them they aren't going to make any difference in the count in the winner. So I'm not too concerned about them. But my recommendation is that the provisional votes be kind of counted as votes as far as the official vote tally is concerned. I know there was one voter who was very concerned that his vote would not be counted if I didn't count it that way, and it's not unreasonable to count the provisionals in kind of the official count. That's what I got. What happens now on out is tonight at 9 o'clock is the cutoff for any complaints. I cannot imagine that there's any complaints. It was a pretty straightforward election. So, and then after, assuming there are no complaints as of 9 o'clock tonight, then the committee can certify the election and basically give it to BJ then, and she can announce the certified results at the June meeting. These are uncertified results because we haven't waited for the entire complaint period to be done. We got another hour and a half.
I have a question just for clarification, Anne. So the provisional votes, when counted, do they sway a candidate to maybe take the lead? Is it?
They make no difference whatsoever.
So the benefit would be to count the provisional ballots as a virtue to the community.
Right. That voting is a good thing, and even if the mail is going to be slow and maybe slow down the process a little bit, we're going to honor the process.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to
it's not technically the way the rules are written. If it did make a difference, then then the commission would have to decide what they wanted to do about the provisional votes. I think it's not a hard choice at this point.
Okay. So
that would be my guess.
Okay. So as a commission, would to count these provisional ballots that trickled in, and we know that logistics, whether it's a package or an envelope, logistics are lagging behind in this COVID-19 pandemic era. Do we want to officially vote to accept those provisional ballots? How do we want to handle that as a commission to recognize that those provisional ballots shall be counted?
I'd suggest that we just simply move to accept Anne's recommendation that we count the provisional votes with the regular votes.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Okay. So then everyone in favor of accepting Anne's recommendation to count the provisional ballots, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, and the motion passes. Anything else, Anne?
No, I congratulate the voters of Clintonville for sticking it out. They did a good job.
I'd like to also thank Anne, you and the election committee for the work you've done over the past year. I don't think there's been any year that I've been a member of the commission or been associated with the commission that you have had to work as much as you've had. You've had special elections, you've had the crazy circumstances of the pandemic, you've dealt with all of those things, and I really appreciate the hard work you've done over the past year. It's really been a heavy burden, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. I have a good committee. It all works pretty well, and BJ's always very responsive to whatever little quirky question I have.
Yeah, well, you took the lead. I mean, you decided that Clintonville was going to. It was best to forge ahead with an exclusive mail-in ballot protocol before Franklin County did. I thought that was Franklin County kind of took your lead. I think that's
there it is, Clintonville, and in the forefront. That's just what we do.
It was a bold move and it worked out. Okay, thank you. Thank you immensely, Anne. We appreciate you, and please convey our appreciation to your committee.
I will.
We'll find time to celebrate and high five later. Okay, next we have Chair of our Zoning and Variance Committee, Stephen Hardwick.
Oh, thank you. We had a full agenda with 4 items. The first one was 150 East Lakeview, BZA 20019. The homeowner, Wesley Studebaker, wants to keep his existing driveway. He seeks, after he moved the garage, he seeks a variance to reduce the east side yard from 5 foot to 1 foot for the first 40 feet of the property on the side closest to Lakeview. There was some discussion that the driveway would be left, even the driveway would lead to nothing now that the access to his garage is from the alley behind it. He wants to keep that for additional parking to keep cars off the street. Let's see, he did. He replaced a 1.5 car garage. The homeowner would like to add on to the house, and the existing garage was in the way. The committee recommended approval by a vote of 7-1, with Michael Haw voting no because he saw no hardship. There were no objections from the community about it, and no one sent in any comment. That's the end of my report on that item.
Okay. Thank you. So you had almost a unanimous vote by the Zoning and Variance Committee, with Michael Ha saying that they're just really, the applicant lacked in demonstration of a hardship.
Correct.
Okay. Nothing from the community, no responses from the community, no special concerns cited in the city planner's report, nothing else?
Nope, we mailed it, and I've mailed out the notices as usual and gave people the opportunity to send emails to me during the meeting, and no one did that.
Okay. All right. Let me toggle to my email, see if anybody who's watching live stream on YouTube has emailed any questions. Okay. I have no questions or concerns that have come into the commission email. All right. Any questions from the commission for this applicant?
I have one question for the applicant.
Okay.
Mr. Studebaker, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I just wanted to clarify something. It seemed to me that this is an existing driveway going to your existing garage that you're going to renovate or demolish and then add on to the house, and the garage will be accessed from the alley. And so the variance that you're requesting is basically because the existing driveway is there and kind of over the line, and you're doing new work, and the city wants to make sure that you have a variance to do it correctly. Does that seem fair to say?
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what they told me when I talked to zoning originally, was that, the garage and the driveway that had been put there, whenever they were put there, like in the 80s, I think, were technically, not up to code. And that if I wanted to demolish the garage, that I had to file for this variance.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's what it seemed like to me. I just wanted to make it clear that, this isn't a new driveway, this is an existing driveway, and you just don't want to take it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I have no further questions, BJ.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Wes, do you have anything to add to your request?
No, I mean, the only thing I thought about after that meeting was, I could technically say there's a little bit of a hardship there. I mean, it's really just, if this were to get overturned, I would basically forfeit the money for the variance, and I would have to pay additional money to demolish the apron and have new curb poured for something that's basically going to add no value to my house. I mean, that's not much, but that would be, if you wanted to look for a technicality of a hardship, that's about all I could come up with.
Okay. All right. Shall we proceed to vote for this applicant's request for a variance?
I make the motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
thank you. Okay, so we're actually voting for demolition of an, yes, sorry. Code variance required to keep the existing driveway. It's technically an obstruction to his side of the yard. I'm trying to, I'm reading off the application. I can't find Stephen's agenda link. Sorry about that.
To seek a variance to reduce the east side yard from 5 foot to 1 foot.
Thank you, Libby. All right, from 3 foot to 1 foot, from 5 foot to 1 foot. Sorry, I just found it. All right, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and call roll to vote for the applicant's request for a variance from 5 foot to 1 foot. District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
District 7.
Yes.
District 8.
Yes.
And District 9 shall vote yes. All right. Wes,
Thank you.
you've received your recommendation from the commission for your approved variance request.
Excellent.
We'll get that standard recommendation form processed by Monday at noon. Have that sent to the city planner on file, and we'll copy you on it.
Okay, great. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Stephen.
Okay, next one is 3741 Indianola CV 20019. This is the Como mower service and sales location. They had a complaint about the condition of the property and had numerous code violations cited in July 2019. Site didn't comply with the site plan, and they wanted to fix up the property and make the plan comply with the or basically make the law comply with the plan. The applicant, let's see, in the 5 variances they seek are to permit exterior covered storage of lawnmowers within the fenced area in the rear of the principal building as shown on the site plan, to allow outdoor storage of lawnmowers within 100 feet of residentially zoned properties, to allow dumpsters to be located in the southwestern area of the site as shown at the site plan instead of directly behind the principal building, reduce the number of parking spaces from 16 to 8. Now, they initially had wanted also to eliminate the bike parking requirement, but they've changed that and they are now going to meet that requirement. They also want to reduce the setback of the parking lot from 25 feet to 20 feet to accommodate the parking spaces that are currently there in front of the building. The only thing close to comment I received was someone in response to the mailing requested more information about it. And when they got the plan, they didn't ask any additional questions. The committee voted recommended to approval 9-0. The reason we have an additional vote is it took one of our members a little longer to get hooked up to the Zoom meeting, and she was able to be here for this discussion. They are getting rid of one curb cut, and it's basically using it the building the way it currently is, but sprucing it up a bit and hiding the trash bins. I believe the applicant has a presentation of their own on this.
Hi, good evening. Katerina Carrick with Underhill and Hodge. I am here on behalf of Como Mower Service and Sales. I am happy to provide a brief overview similar to what I did at the zoning committee, if that would be helpful. Perhaps that is the most appropriate thing here, considering we are asking for 5 variances, and it may be helpful for those of you who have not had a chance to look at the application and the proposed site plan to get some additional context for what the applicant is asking for. Is it okay if I do screen share and
Please.
show the presentation?
Please, are you enabled to screen share right now?
Let me try and do it. Do you see that?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So I will, for those of you who were at the zoning committee meeting, I apologize because this is very similar to what you have already heard, but I will try to be as brief as possible, but cover what the applicant is requesting here. We're talking about 3741 Indianola Avenue. Como Mower Service and Sales is the business at this location. Como has been in Clintonville for 44 years in total. And at this particular location, they've been there for about 30 years. So they are a long time Clintonville business. And they have established quite strong of a root in the community. And I have some pictures just to show you what we're talking about. This is Indianola right here, if you can see my cursor. Acton Road is the intersecting street right over here. And this was pulled from Google Images, so you can just get an idea of what the site looks like. As Stephen mentioned, this is not a redevelopment proposal. We are essentially asking that this site, for the most part, remain as it exists today, with some sprucing up that is essentially needed at this point. For example, if you look at this picture, you see that the parking lot is not in the best shape. We need some restriping for the parking spaces. Here, this is another picture from Acton Road. The dumpsters are currently not screened to code, and those dumpsters would be screened if the application is approved and in accordance with the site plan that we're proposing. And as you can see, there is a fenced in storage area in the back. And I will show you some details regarding that in just a moment, but this is the surrounding area right across the street on Indianola. There are C4 and M uses, warehousing right over here, some new development just to the south. Across from Acton to the south is a C4 use property. Payne's Auto Service is there at this point. They have a great relationship with Como. To the north is, directly to the north, our office uses. Also another business that has a good relationship with Como Mower. And I wanted to show you aerials of the site. I think it's helpful because when we talk about this property not being in compliance with the current site plan, it's important to have some context regarding what that means. This is an aerial image from 2018, and it's pretty much what the site looks like today. There is a principal building right here, and then there's some fenced-in storage area in the back. I believe these are the dumpsters, and there is a storage container just to the north that that's there right now. And I was able to locate a 2005 aerial image. As you can see here, even in 2005, the site looked very similar to what it looks like today. The parking was in a better condition. Just based on this picture, it looks like it was in a better condition at that point in time, but generally speaking, the site has not changed significantly since 2005. And the fenced-in area in the back, I think it's important for you to understand what's going on back there. When we talk about outside storage and covered storage, Como Mower has been quite successful at the location where they're currently located. They've been there for quite some time, have a great business, great reputation in the community, and they need a place to store mowers that are either being worked on or that are going to get worked on. It's not a salvage operation. There's no parts. There's no work being done in this fenced-in area. It's truly used for storing mowers that they cannot keep inside the retail building. And this is another picture just to show you what it looks like. Another covered area back here. Some mowers are out here when the weather permits. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure you had an idea of what's actually happening back there. And Stephen had mentioned the site plan that Como Mower is currently not in compliance with. We are talking about a site plan from 1979. This is the site plan of record with the city. Back in the day, this was a restaurant, and somebody at the zoning committee had pointed out the name. I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but it preceded Como Mower being at this location. And obviously this is not what the site looks like. There are numerous items that are not in compliance with the site plan as it currently, as the site currently exists. There was a 1988 site plan that was reviewed by the city. And this, I'm not quite sure if this was approved in error or if it was approved and then this proposed new building was never built. But the city records folks were able to locate this plan. And after further conversations with zoning staff, it looks like this is the official plan that they are going off of, just because this is what was clearly approved and what is of record today. The status of this plan is unclear. So we're going off of a 1979 site plan, and these are the notices of violation that were issued to Como in July of 2019. As you can see, the site is not in compliance with the site plan, and there are numerous reasons why. In addition to that, there's maintenance issues with the parking lot. The dumpsters are not shown on the plan. They're not screened. Striping of the parking lot has faded and needs to be repaired. This is a list of variances that Como is requesting. Instead of reading off the variances, I would like to show you the site plan that we're proposing and point out where the variances come into play. Let me try and zoom in just a little bit. Can you see that? Hello, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the existing retail structure. This is the fenced-in storage area in the back. These are the dumpsters. This is the proposed parking area. And like I said earlier, it's not a proposal to redevelop the site. Instead, the site would remain in a similar condition that it looks like today, except the parking lot will be repaved. The parking spaces will be striped. A bike rack will be added here. And enhanced landscaping would be provided in a grassy, this is the entrance to the building, and there's this area that's that has some grass over here and some landscaping right now, but that would be improved, and then also additional landscaping here. Also, the dumpsters would be screened over here, and so some minor changes to the site are expected as a result of this application, but for the most part, the site would remain as it exists today. And the variances that the applicant is seeking, the first one is to allow for this outdoor storage. This is the reason why a council variance is required. This is not a permitted use in a C4 district. So in order for this condition to continue, a council variance is needed. The second variance is to allow outside storage within 100 feet of residentially zoned properties. As you can see, the properties to the west are zoned residential, and clearly the storage area, which is across the alley, is within 100 feet of residential. The third is dumpsters under the zoning code. And I actually didn't know this until recently, but dumpsters are required to be directly behind the principal building. And if you do not have your dumpsters directly behind a principal building, a zoning variance is required. So in order for these dumpsters to stay closer to the alley where they are now, a zoning variance is required, but they will be screened from view. And then the fourth variance concerns the parking spaces. Now, it's a little bit tricky because typically you look at the principal building or structure in order to calculate the parking space. But because this property also has storage, the storage area is used in the calculation of the parking spaces that would be needed. Now, this storage area in the back, it's not open and available for customers to access. It's solely used by the employees of Como. They're the only ones permitted to go back there. Customers are only permitted in the retail structure, but for the purposes of the parking calculation, that doesn't matter. Everything is calculated as retail use. So if you add everything up, it amounts to 5,090 square feet of retail use. And under the code, which requires 201 parking space per 250 square feet of retail use, 21 parking spaces would be required. Now, this is within the community commercial overlay, so there is a 25% parking reduction that is allotted. And so you end up with 16 parking spaces required in total for this site. The proposal is to provide 8 parking spaces, 6 over here to the south and 2 on the eastern side of the building. And in addition to that, bicycles, a bicycle rack would be provided along Indianola. And right now, this is very similar to what Como looks like and how much, what the current condition of the parking is of the site. And it's adequate to serve the needs of Como. Customers, like I mentioned, they come into the retail structure, and typically what happens is they drop off their mowers or they pick them up. It's not your typical retailer where folks get to browse and spend a significant amount of time at the store. So customers are generally in and out. Now, when Como has its busy season, summertime, around the holidays, they do have a good relationship with the business owner to the south, and that business owner allows employees every once in a while to park there if they're anticipating a busy weekend. Now, that doesn't happen very often, but it is something that they've been able to work out. But generally speaking, this parking, the parking spaces that are currently available at the site are adequate to meet the needs of the business. And that's, oh yeah, and the last variance, I apologize, I skipped one. So the last one is the parking setback requirement from Indianola. There's a 25-foot setback requirement, and in order to accommodate these 2 parking spaces here, a 5-foot variance is needed. And that just about covers everything. As I've mentioned to the zoning committee, the goal is to get Como mower in compliance, to have a site plan that is updated, spruce up the site a little bit, and hopefully have them stay out of trouble for the next 30 years. while they continue to operate at this location in Clintonville.
Okay.
I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Katerina. I appreciate that. So I did attend the Zoning and Variance Committee meeting on this. And I want to say that, Katerina, are you a Como mower customer?
I am not, but right now I live in a condo. If I buy a house, I probably will be.
Well, let me assure you, you missed an opportunity to promote Como mower while asking for these variances, because as a Como mower customer, I'll tell you that they have a mowing repair valet service. So they actually do home pickup and take it back to the shop, and they load up a utility trailer and they'll go out and make their calls. They'll hit the north side of Clintonville and do their runs, and they'll do the spring tune-ups and the winterization, saving people the time and trouble of hauling in their mower, taking up parking lot space. So
I am happy to hear that. I am not surprised that the business owner has not tooted their own horn to me regarding how good of a job they're doing serving their customers. But I have to say, I'm not at all surprised to hear that. Just based on how much business they've had, and from what I've seen, I think they are a tremendous asset to the Clintonville community, and not just Clintonville, but Columbus as a whole.
Yeah, 35 households, and we have really big lots. And, you know, we can't count on those deer to make themselves useful and eat up our grass. They'd rather eat the houses. So, okay, does anybody have any questions for our applicant? All right, Commissioner Weatherholt.
3 questions. Stephen, I thought you said, did I misunderstand you when you said there was a curb cut being eliminated?
You understood me, but I was wrong. I realized that after I double checked that.
Okay.
I apologize for that error.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't misunderstood that. Remind me what happens with a change of ownership on council variances.
So the site plan would be the plan of record. So if another business owner were to come into this location, they would have to comply with the exact same site plan. They cannot, we've defined the limited outside storage space. There cannot be any expansion without going either through a rezoning or an additional council variance. That would have to be reviewed. Now, it's such an unusual site plan that we're proposing that my guess would be if anybody else wanted to come there and let's say open up another C4 business, a restaurant, or something else, this site plan is probably not going to work for them and they would have to go through this process again.
Okay, we don't get council variances a whole lot, and that's what I was remembering, but I wasn't sure. My last one is, what do you mean by spruce up? Because it is pretty ugly.
It is, and I agree with you. It's utility is the word that comes to mind, but I think having that parking lot repaved and parking striping provided. Right now, it's unclear where folks are supposed to park, and utilizing the green space and creating some additional landscaping that defines the site a little bit better. I think that's the idea, and also the dumpsters in the back are not screened, and nobody wants to see that, and there's a reason why that requirement is in the code. So some things would be done to improve the site without going through a full-scale redevelopment.
The storage container is really, really ugly. And, you know, but I understand. So it is utilitarian. Okay.
Chair White, may I add something?
Yes.
Part of why I thought it was an acceptable plan is that it allows outside storage of lawnmowers, not just outside storage of lawnmowers. Now, I think it'd be, that limitation itself makes it hard for any other business to take advantage of that exception.
That's a good point. I forgot to mention that, yes. It's limited to lawnmowers.
I'd like to go back to the shipping container. When you're reading the staff review, can you explain the hardship statement and whether it is a shipping container or a portable building, and is that going to be screened?
It is a shipping container, and because it is not a portable building, there's no requirement to obtain a special permit. So in this case, there's no requirement that a special permit be requested as part of the application. The shipping container is there because some mowers and some equipment is more valuable than others, and it warrants being locked up. And so having that area is actually of tremendous value because it's easy for someone to jump over a fence. But to get inside a shipping container that's fenced in is a little bit trickier, and that's why it's been there.
So container from a pod, because when she was on, Chauncey got a passed those people's driveway. So for a business.
Commissioner Wyman? Commissioner Wyman?
Yes.
Yes. You were going in and out there on your audio. So let's
my question is it different from a pod then? So you got an ordinance pods, moving pods and on a property.
So let me see if I can help rephrase that for you, Katerina. So Commissioner Wyman is asking, is it different than a temporary storage, like a pod moving storage unit that someone would utilize putting in their driveway to facilitate the move of their home? Or is this a storage container that is permanently placed there? Is that what you're saying, Commissioner Wyman?
Yeah, so that ordinance doesn't apply to this?
So my understanding is that if it were a trailer, which I think a pod would be treated more like a trailer, a special permit would be required. But this is not that. This is a shipping container that's permanently located there. So it's treated as part of the storage area. And the special permit requirement doesn't kick in.
And if it was, I'm sure with all of the code infractions that Como received, I'm sure that would be among the list of citations, correct?
That's correct.
All right, does that satisfy your inquiry, Commissioner Wyman?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from commissioners?
I had a couple comments just related to the application in general, if I may. I wanted to kind of just point out or highlight the fact that, unique to this business, and when we're talking about variance request number 2, section 3363-0.41A, we're talking about open storage. So basically a covered area where the lawnmowers are. That's kind of the contention on this issue, if I understand it correctly. And, if we were to go across the street or across Acton to Payne's Service, they have the similar situation, except they just don't have a cover over it. They have all the, cars in the back. So, I would say that given the fact that this property's been here and they've been using it in this same way for so long, part of it just seems as though it's I question the timing as to why all of a sudden it's an issue where it hasn't been in the last 20 or 30 years. I'm appreciative of the fact that they want to put proper parking, especially with a dedicated accessibility spot and some landscaping for some screening. I would say that the dumpster being in the same spot where it is now probably provides some sort of utility to the company that comes picks it up. So if it were screened back further behind the primary structure, it might be more difficult and take more time and more sound for the neighbors. And lastly, if we were to discount the property in terms of the parking calculation and just go to the primary structure, which I feel like is appropriate under the circumstances, and I would question why the city would have an issue with, try to impose a larger parking requirement. 2665 for the primary structure divided by 250 and then subtracting 25% puts them requiring 7.995 spots, and they are proposing 8 spots. So I just want to point out a couple of those things relative to the application that seem to support what they want to do from a variance request standpoint.
Thank you, Commissioner Garrison. Anyone else from the commission? Okay, I'll toggle to see. We do have some people watching on live stream on YouTube. I'm going to toggle to see if we have any questions emailed to us. And we do not. Are there any participants on the Zoom meeting forum that have any questions for the applicant? Okay, commissioners, shall we vote to approve all 4 variances in one fell swoop?
Yes.
Excuse me, there are 5 variances in total.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to correct that. Sorry to come back.
Thank you, Katerina. Duly noted. Are we ready to vote for all 5 variances being asked by the applicant in one fell swoop?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
District 7. District
Yes.
7. Okay, thank you. District 8
Yes.
and District 9 shall vote yes as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katerina. Good luck.
Thank you.
And then again, we will have our recommendation with our copy of our voting records submitted to your benefit on Monday by noon.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. All right, Stephen, back to you.
Okay, the third variance was at 118 Graceland, 19 GC 056. We've heard this before when they were trying to put up a second sign for Graceland Flats and also renovate and replace an existing sign. After city comments, they've decided to eliminate, in this commission's hearing, they decided to eliminate that second sign and incorporate Graceland Flats into a replacement for an existing sign. They specifically, they still need a special permit for off-premises signage because this is not on the Graceland Flats property. They want to increase tenant panels from 5 to 7. They want to increase the portion of the ground sign used to display tenant panels from 50% to 80%. They want to increase the height of the ground sign from 6 feet to 17 feet, the allowed height, which is 1 foot lower than the existing one. And they want a variance to allow an off-premises sign in the CCO. It sounds like they're just 2 rules that basically require the same thing. At the presentation, they said that the new sign will be a foot shorter, so it'll be a little shorter and a little wider than the existing one, but it'll be exactly where their pylon sign is right now. There will be no separate Graceland Flats sign. Last time when we discussed it, we thought about how this is a unique lot that is extremely deep, deeper than any other. I think it's the deepest, maybe the deepest lot we have in Clintonville. And so it makes sense to have an off-premises sign. This has nothing to do with whether the Graceland Flats gets built or how it gets built. I sent out notices to get to all the required people, although there aren't that many required because there aren't that many people living close to it. But I received no responses and no one commented during the meeting. The committee recommended approval by a vote of 9-0.
Stephen,
yeah.
on number 5, they changed it from 6 feet to 17 feet. I mean, he may say that, but that was the request at Monday's meeting.
Yeah. They said, I understand 17 feet is what I wrote down from the minutes and submitted, and no one corrected me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that's
but
what they said at the meeting.
Right, but in the agenda, or at least the one I'm working from, I think it's the most recent one. Our agenda, it says 6 feet to 17 or 21 feet.
Okay, that was, there was some, the original variances on the application were handwritten, not by Mr. Visco. And I had some difficulty understanding and corresponded with someone else who was involved with this. And that's how I got to the original agenda items. That's one thing we clarified at the meeting to get exactly what they needed right. Okay. That's the end of my report, Chair White.
Okay, thank you. Lou, we'll go to you. And if you could start just by clarifying that last point.
Sure. The proposed pylon, single pylon, will be a foot shorter than the existing. We just need it to go to 17 foot. The only reason we need this variance is, of course, because of the overlay. That sign, the new sign will be in place of the Taco Bell sign, which is the current sign refaced, and nothing's changing in regards to location. And if I could, obviously, Lou Visco with Casto, thank you. We started this journey back in the fall. We applied, I believe it was October, November. We met with the Zoning and Variance Committee. We met with Clintonville Area Commission, yourselves, and we sat down with city staff. We had gone in with 2 signs, and there was quite a bit of interest, at least in the shop at Casto, for a residential sign just north of that High Street Graceland, intersection in our parking lot, 6-foot dedicated pylon. And then the retail folks were just looking for a couple additional panels to the existing sign that sits out there now, which again has been there forever. It was the Taco Bell sign, and now was refaced about 15 years ago. We have over 300,000 square foot of retail, big shops, little shops. Many of the larger tenants are on the big pylon. There's very little opportunity for some of the smaller tenants to have a presence out at High Street. And of course, you can't really see them from High Street. And as was just noted, this is a 60-acre tract that's an anomaly in Graceland, very long, narrow. In any case, we heard your commission as well as city staff loud and clear. And the message was, Lou, you're not getting 2 signs. Figure out how to put it on one. So pretty proud of the folks internally. The residential and retail sides got together, and with Signcom and Bruce Sommerfeld, we came up with the sign in your package, which is going to sit exactly where the existing, what I call the small pylon sign, sits, just south of Bob Evans. And it's going to allow for up to 7 tenants, preferably if the variant passes. And then, of course, it incorporates the Graceland Flats panel down below. Everyone's satisfied with the presence here. We like it. We hope, obviously, it works for the community and you can support it.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Lou. First off, let me say, express to you again the appreciation on behalf of the commission, who gave very thorough feedback on the recommendation form and your willingness to work and revising this request. I think that doing so demonstrates good faith, we really appreciate you revisiting these applications and working the recommendations of the commission, the Zoning and Variance Committee, and the city planner's notes. We really appreciate you taking that, kind of running it through the mill and resulting in one sign. We appreciate your consideration of that.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Lou on the commission? Any questions about the Graceland Flats sign? Okay, let me toggle to see if there's any YouTube watchers who are have posed any questions. And we do not. Okay, any attendees to the Zoom meeting forum have any questions? Okay, commissioners, are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all right. So we are going to, we're going to vote for all 5 variances being asked. Please note that the variance being asked for number 5 would be a 6-foot to a 17-foot variance. We'll go ahead and vote for all 5 in one fell swoop. We'll start with District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
District 7.
Yes.
District 8.
Yes.
And District 9 shall vote yes. And again, we will prepare our standard recommendation form in support of these 5 variances. Thank you for working with us on that, Lou. We greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, next on the, thank you, Chair Hardwick. We appreciate you having prepared us to get us through that heavy variance agenda pretty swiftly.
There's still one more.
Oh, that's right. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I spoke too soon. Please. Sorry about that, Eric.
You're good.
Yeah, this is also one that we heard before, 3400 North High Street, BZA 19 BZA 30. This is the Broker 1 building on North Broadway and High. They want a variance to reduce the number of required parking spaces from 55 to 22. They had a smaller reduction request earlier, but the city decided they want to insist on keeping their right-of-way along that portion of East North Broadway, and that right-of-way extends into the current parking lot. The applicant is trying to buy that right-of-way, but that is a separate process. They do plan to eliminate the access point on High Street. That was after discussions with the city's traffic. The city's traffic and fire departments got together and decided they didn't need that. The access point on North Broadway will be a little bit farther west, away from the traffic light. And this will stop people from using that as a way to avoid having to wait to turn left from North High Street onto West North Broadway, which I've seen sometimes happen. They will also have additional marked parking space that the traffic department wouldn't let them. I made a lot of typos in this one. I'm sorry. Wouldn't let them count. They have 15 overflow spaces at Clinton's signed. They have their primary offsite parking is at the church across the street where they have 26 spots and they will encourage office employee parking there. They did a city specified parking study at the end of February before most of the pandemic stuff got started, and there are generally, they said that they found generally 150 to 180 street parking spaces within a 750-foot radius. Also, we pointed out at the last meeting that when the neighborhood had a referendum on whether this applicant should get a liquor permit to put in a restaurant, the approval was well above 80%. So the neighbors, sometimes we have a hard time gauging what neighbors think about a project, and we actually have a vote in this case. The committee voted 9-0 to recommend approval. I also recommended that the applicant go to the CAC at some point to see if they could get some sort of letter of support to obtain the right of way, so the city knows that the commission still stands by the one thing that everyone agreed on in that big brouhaha of about 10 years ago, which was that that street should not be widened any further, and putting this in private hands would make that a lot harder for the city to ever do. And that was part of the community consensus at the time, and the applicant's purchase of that right of way would further that goal, but that is not a matter within the zoning committee's purview. That's my report, and that's my report, Chair White. You're muted,
Thank you, Chair Hardwick. Eric, you have the floor.
Thank you, BJ. And thank you, Stephen. You actually took most of the words out of my mouth, so I hope to keep it short and sweet and highlight some of the things that were different from last time to this time. If you recall, we presented to your group, I believe it was in March, and there was a recommendation of approval of a reduction of 26 parking spaces, but that was contingent on specific results of our request for a right-of-way exception. Unfortunately, we only got partial relief from that, so the city will not be taking any right-of-way from the property along North High Street, but they chose to take the full right-of-way along North Broadway. As a result, that directly impacted 14 of the parking spaces that we previously proposed. And then we had to, if you look at the revised site plan, we managed to get some parallel parking spaces back in that area. And then we adjusted the orientation of some of the parking spaces on the southeastern corner. So this time, the project itself has not changed as far as the square footage of what is being proposed. It's the same 3,475 square foot restaurant and 900 square foot patio, but we have a few less spaces to work with this time around. In addition to the off-site spaces that were mentioned earlier, in aggregate, we exceed the required minimum by a few spaces. And then also some new information, as Stephen said, is we finalized the parking study, the street parking study, which was conducted on a Friday at 3 different times and a Saturday at 3 different times. And at all times there was at least 150 parking spaces within that 700-foot radius. With these, we think we are, with the off-street parking and the the satellite parking and the off-street parking, we hope to mitigate the substantiality of our variance request. I think this is a great project for the community. It hits a lot of the points that are stressed in the Clintonville plan along North High Street, in particular this commercial corridor. Again, that the community voted in favor of the liquor license at this. We think that is a strong support from the community, and that's about it. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions for Eric from the commission?
What's the relationship that you have with Clinton Elementary in terms of the shared spaces there? I think you mentioned, I think 15 spaces there. Is there any ability to make the pedestrian link between the two properties a little easier than walking all around, or, you know, the two properties abut, but there's a fence there. Is there any opportunity to have a opening in the fence, some steps between the two properties or anything like that?
Unfortunately not. The angle of the new parking spaces in that southeast corner take up that almost the entire width of that open area. And one thing I forgot to mention, and I remember your question from last time, that it's intended that all of the spaces at the Clinton Elementary are going to be valet spaces. So any foot traffic should be pulling into our parking lot and going into the restaurant or the office, and then the valet spaces over there. And
so is that a lease? Is that a lease arrangement that you have with Clinton Elementary then to lease those spaces certain hours, or?
No, it's not a lease agreement. It's just an agreement with the principal. The parking spaces at Lutheran are leased spaces, and I forgot to mention the client in all of his lease agreements with the office tenants and the restaurant tenants will be encouraged to have all their employees park across the street at all available times, leaving the on-site parking as much as possible available to any restaurant or office visitors.
Thanks.
Sure thing.
All right. And does anyone else from the commission have any questions for Eric?
I did want to make one note about something. I think in the original presentation to the Zoning Variance Committee the previous time, one of the committee members had asked about parking requirements in terms of accessible parking. And I just kind of wanted to retouch on that subject because of the change in parking spaces to less spaces at this point to 22. So the code, the city code defers to the Ohio Building Code, and the Ohio Building Code requires one space for 25 spots. So I did want to just make that known because with the reduction in parking, in terms of my interpretation of the code, technically they would only require one accessible parking space, but they did retain two. And I remember, I think previously we had talked about wanting to have, since the parking is limited and there is remote parking, to kind of help increase some of the accessible parking. So it does appear to me that they have an extra accessible parking space. I just want to point that out.
Does anyone else have any questions for Eric? Okay. We know that you've revised this plan 2 or 3 or 4 times over. We appreciate you considering our feedback and pragmatism in moving forward. And we know that the city has given you a lot of challenging aspects too. So we appreciate the hard work that went into this.
Thank you. Appreciate you too.
Are we ready to vote on this?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. We'll vote for all requested variances in one fell swoop. We'll begin by asking District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
District 7.
No.
District 8.
Yes.
And District 9 shall vote yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll prepare our recommendation with a copy of our voting record and have it to you by noon on Monday.
That's great. Y'all have a great night.
All right, thank you, Eric. Okay. All right, thank you again, Chair Hardwick. I apologize for almost cutting your agenda short. Okay, does that conclude the zoning and variance agenda?
Yes, it does.
All
Thank
right. All right, thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and give Commissioner Votero, our vice chair, the floor to present a proposed resolution.
Thanks. BJ, did you happen to have a chance to send out the latest revision of the resolution to the commission members?
I did not. I received
Okay.
it approximately 7 minutes before the meeting started.
Understood. I got it about the same time. I had offered a resolution. I think I shared it with the commission members, a couple of commission members about a week ago. This is in response to an email that we received about a yarn bomb on the corner of Acton Road and High Street. And it brought this piece of fiber art that was installed to our attention. And it really seemed in at least my reception of it was a great piece of artwork that kind of captured a unique moment in the community's life. The pandemic is a difficult time for everybody. I know just talking with neighbors and friends, people here in the community, that the artwork was paying tribute to the work of Dr. Acton, who is the state's chief public health officer. And I think she has been universally applauded for her leadership with some controversy, but I think she has done an excellent job of leading the state during a very difficult time. She was also singled out recently by the Columbus Foundation as the recipient of the Spirit of Columbus Award, which is a pretty significant award. The fact that there was kind of this homegrown effort to pay tribute to her, I thought led me to offer this resolution. The artwork has since come down. It was pointed out to us that yarn bombing, which is sort of stitching a piece of artwork around a pole or sometimes a statue or sometimes a railing or something like that. It's sort of a craft movement to put art in public places. It was putting something on a public property in the right of way. And like graffiti, it's subject to being removed. So my purpose was to try to find a way for us to facilitate the artwork and the expression of gratitude that it involved, and make it a fitting tribute, and maybe to provide a way for that artwork to be engaged with the public in a more lasting and more proper manner in terms of it being permitted to exist in public right away on a public utility pole. So I can read the resolution if that's okay, as it's been amended. Commissioner Weatherholt had done some editing for me earlier and had shipped it back to me. So if it's okay, I can read the resolution. BJ, you're welcome to, if you can forward that on to the other commission members. Again, I'm sorry for kind of the last minute thing. I was trying to adjust the resolution to the fact that the piece of artwork had been taken down, and how do we work with that sort of twist in the story right now. So I'll read the resolution, and then we can open the floor for discussions if that's okay.
Please.
Resolution 2020-1, recognizing the contributions of Dr. Amy Acton during the COVID-19 public health emergency in protecting public health and providing compassionate leadership and thoughtful public communication. Recitals. Whereas the Clintonville community has been deeply impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and has shared in the human, social, and economic costs and hardships of the outbreak. And 2, whereas Clintonville has found ways to remain united in its resolve to combat the spread of the COVID-19 virus and has drawn inspiration and benefited from the messaging presented by Dr. Acton, which has offered Clintonville residents reassurance, encouragement, and useful insights to protect their health. And 3, whereas the Columbus Foundation has selected Dr. Acton as the 2020 recipient of the Spirit of Columbus Award in recognition of outstanding work and contributions to the community. And 4, whereas the Clintonville Area Commission wishes to recognize Dr. Acton for her public service and civic leadership. And 5, whereas a spontaneous fiber art installation paying tribute to Dr. Acton was installed by an anonymous resident on a utility pole near the intersection of North High Street and Acton Road, and subsequently has been removed. And 6, whereas the fiber art had great impact as a symbol of community resilience, unity, and gratitude for Dr. Acton's leadership. And 7, whereas the Clintonville Area Commission wishes to recognize the subtle yet meaningful contributions of yarn bombing as a form of artistic expression, which contributes to the character and charm of the Clintonville community. Therefore, let it be resolved, the Clintonville Area Commission, 1, asks the City of Columbus to direct the Department of Public Service to place an additional street signage at the corner of North High Street and Acton Road, identifying Acton Road as Dr. Amy Acton Road for the remainder of 2020. 2, ask the Columbus Art Commission to authorize the reinstallation or recreation of the fiber art installation, which has been removed from the utility pole, and accept it as a legitimate piece of public art installed for the remainder of 2020 and deserving of the recognition and protections accorded other works of public art in the City of Columbus. And 3, offer thanks and appreciation to the artists for their insurgent artwork, which has lifted the spirits of the community and offered fitting tribute on their behalf for the public service of Dr. Amy Acton. This resolution was adopted by the Clintonville Area Commission, May 7th, 2020. So that's the text of the resolution. I know Libby maybe has some things she'd like to add. I'm more than welcome to adjust things. The thrust of it really is, I think this is a fitting way for we as a community to express some collective appreciation for some very important work. I would hope that at the end of this, I'll call it exhibition period, which ends in the end of 2020, that maybe this artwork could come down. It could be given to the Ohio History Connection to kind of document our community in this kind of very difficult, very, very unique time in history as a way of how the community helped to kind of go through it.
David, did you get my email?
I got one about a week ago. I didn't get anything recently.
Okay, because you'd asked me to look at it as well. I wasn't sure if you had received it or not.
I think I got your email just acknowledging that you'd gotten it. I didn't get anything after that. I tried to keep looking for it, but.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because on the 29th, I put two, I think it was the 29th. I'm sorry, it was on the 30th. I sent you some revisions.
Oh, my apologies. I tried to keep an eye out for it, but I don't think I saw it.
I think I copied Libby. Libby, if you didn't get it, then it's somehow, because I'm looking at it right now, so I was kind of curious.
No, I don't think I did get it either.
Okay, no worries. I can resend it.
My apologies. Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's if you got neither of you got it, it's on my end. So
do you want to add it in, or how do you want to do that, BJ?
It was just minor. It was minor, picky lawyer grammatical.
That's why I sent it out. I admit I am not a writer. If I write for a living, I would have starved to death long time ago. So if there's edits,
it's nothing substantive.
I am more than happy to incorporate those into the final version and send it
My
back.
feelings won't be hurt.
No.
Can I make a comment? So I talked to David about this yesterday, and I was pleasantly surprised at the quick response I've gotten back as far as the Dr. Amy Acton sign on top of the current Acton sign. It is slowly making its way up to the mayor's office. So it was a quick turnaround. The response I've gotten about the sign so far has been very positive. So I feel positive about the sign, the yard bombing to be announced.
Okay, yeah. May I add my two concerns with what David read are for paragraphs 2 and 3 in the resolution part. Instead of calling it a legitimate piece of public art, because I'm not sure the Art Commission would do that, but something like I did some research on and went back to the Clintonville Spotlight article where he actually had done some research on yarn bombing and things, that if we ask the commission to accept it as an artistic contribution to the urban landscape, the art commission or something to that effect might like that better. And then in number 3, I don't know that we want to call it insurgent. I mean, because that means like in opposition to civil authority, and we as a entity with the city of Columbus might not want to be promulgating that kind of thing. But I thought if we just replaced insurgent with spontaneous artwork, that might be a little better.
I have no objections to that as a contribution. My use of the word legitimate was just really to try to make it very clear that what we're asking the city to do is provide whatever permit or however the art commission authorizes it. So I'm trying to use legitimacy simply in the term that, yeah, once we have the permit in place, once we have the city's permission, that legitimizes this piece of fabric to be on this location until 2020. So, you know.
I totally understand that.
You know.
Now, my idea is, should the city say no to the yarn bomber display, what about working with the Columbus Whetstone Library and having a display there?
There's certainly other opportunities. I guess I sort of wanted to reinforce the initial artist's inspiration here. Mm-hmm. And I understand that you know, yarn bombing is akin to graffiti in many ways, and I think it by intention. Okay, they want it to be a little bit counterculture and in your face, and what I hope we're doing here is making an intentional allowance for this piece of artwork in this location for this period of time. And we're in no way sort of saying, well, the rules are changed now and yarn bombing can happen anywhere at any time, any location. That's not our intention, and I don't think that's what we're saying in the resolution. We're simply saying this is a pretty unique, special circumstance here, and we'd like the city to maybe work with us here. I think maybe the city has a way to, you know, work their way through that logic. I do think maybe there's actually an advantage. I did work. I did contact some individuals, and I'd have to say that through an intermediary, I think I know who maybe, I don't know them, but I think I have contact with the yarn bomber, and I think they're at least open to the possibility of recreating the artwork. So, you know, that's certainly asking somebody to you know, go to the effort of doing this again, and yeah, we kind of assume that they will be. But I think it's a unique kind of humble piece of art, and yeah, if it needed to be across the street at the library, maybe it could be, and it wouldn't be. But I think it's a clever thing that they did this at the corner of Acton Road to honor Acton, and you know, that was kind of a cheeky thing to do.
Well, David, don't let us know who it is, because it's like finding out who Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy is. It kind of spoils it.
I sort of hope they wish to remain anonymous, and I'll respect that. If they want to remain anonymous, I will zealously guard their identity. I don't even need to know it. My intermediary can scream knowing that.
I feel like giving away Batman or Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Don't do it. Don't unmask them.
I want to say something on the lines of, I read into your legitimate definition. I read into that permissible artwork. I think that artwork, it's not only an expression of the artist, but it's the timeliness, and it's the meaning, and it's how it falls upon the recipient's eyes. I don't think that artwork's going to have as much bearing and meaning at the library, although I would accept that as a concession, as an alternate plan. I don't think it would have as much meaning as having a lab coat and a cape strung up at a utility pole at Acton and High. I think that the location and the timeliness really gives that artwork the expression that the yarn bomber was going for. And when you think about things like, I know that Flags on High, we did a resolution not too long ago about the Flags on High people, and they have to actually get an insurance policy to be able, and permission from the city of Columbus to be able to display the American flag on the utility poles up here. And you know, that's a very costly procedure. Then you think about the 60+ advertising benches throughout Clintonville on the Indianola Avenue and High Street corridors. Those advertising benches are advertising mediums. They're not an expression of artwork. They are paid for advertising mediums that exist on the city's right-of-way without any permit, license, or insurance policy. They exist merely because they were kicked out of the city of Cincinnati. This advertising group brought all these benches up, started planting them around, selling advertising to paid advertisers, and started planting them in the right-of-ways of Columbus. The city of Columbus began picking them up, and the advertising company sued the city of Columbus for removing their property. And they exist because a judge ordered that those advertising benches stay where they were. And there is no permit. There is no insurance. There is no authorization. There is no ADA compliance. There is no reason that those benches exist except by a judge said they had to, because the advertising company sued the city of Columbus. And when you think about that, and you think about the kangaroo sign being removed, it's part of who we are. It's part of our, that Dr. Amy Acton tribute at the utility pole at Acton and High, and its fiber expression, that is part of who we are. That is part of the Clintonville community. We are vigilantes of community support. We are vigilantes of art. It should exist there.
I think it's a nice segue to something I wanted to say. If we were to switch it over to Libby's language, it would be nice to have some sort of specificity to Clintonville preceding the word urban. So if it were to be Clintonville urban landscape, tying it to our local area.
Sounds good. I think we all enjoy the yarn bomber. And I have, one thing is with it being on the utility poles, that can compromise the safety of some utility workers, okay? Secondly, we are, as I said, an entity of the city of Columbus. So, you know, if I weren't on CAC, I would like things on the yarn bomber on Facebook. But since I'm on CAC, I don't like it, quote, because that changes, you know, my responsibilities. So that's where our problem exists, I think, as a commission.
Maybe we're taking a tiny risk by putting ourselves out there. But I think it's kind of justified. I think this artist kind of did something that seemed to somehow capture the community's spirit. And I think maybe as just advocates for public discourse and public forums for that expression to exist, I think we're being pretty guarded about saying, let's find a way to have this piece of art at this moment in time be able to exist and not treat it as though it's a handbill that got stapled up. It's different. It took on a meaning and it means something to people. So, you know, maybe figuring out a way to make this, I think, is a good thing. And I'm certainly offering myself as a liaison to sort of work with the city, because Libby brings up an important point. We probably need to contact the Department of Public Services and make sure that the fiber art does not present a risk to public safety or good order and management and maintenance of the right of way. You know, fortunately we have a picture of it. We can show them this is what it's going to be. Are you okay with this? This isn't going to be a hazard to people that have to work on the pole, or it's not interfering with the traffic control devices or confusing people because it looks like a stop sign or something. You know, go through those sorts of things and sort of, you know, maybe we have to check with public utilities. Maybe we need to talk to the art commission to make sure they're okay with this. I'm happy to be our liaison to try to have the concept of the resolution realized. But I think the resolution, I'm hoping, certainly with Kendra's assistance, maybe we could yeah, no, seriously, we can maybe you know, I'd like to call for a second if that's possible, and put the resolution to a vote to see whether we can sort of send this up to the city and see if we can then support it. And I'll certainly put myself out there. I'm willing to take the time to support the effort going forward. If the city has questions and we need to involve ourselves, I'll, you know, okay, I kind of cooked this up and I kind of have to own it. So I'll do that. You know, so.
David, my only concern, and this is just the lawyer hat on, and Libby, I think you and I kind of talked a little bit about this too. But are we opening a door for any kind of First Amendment arguments that is going to bring, you know, if we do this, we allow this, why aren't we allowing, you know, X, Y, and Z? That's the only thing that went through my head.
Yeah, I think every piece of public art anywhere in the city has that question. There can be people who question the motives of the artists, or they don't like the representation, or maybe they find it questionable or offensive, or they just are confused by it. I think that's part of what public art is. So you're right. I mean, that's a legitimate question. You know, for me,
it wasn't that long ago.
That's kind of, you know, the nature of aesthetics and you know, kind of what art is.
We're also not the entity that would be approving it ultimately anyway.
Right.
I think more often, I mean, mostly we're trying to connect the people doing it with the authority to say whether or not it's something that's allowed.
And I think that's very much what we're doing in this case, because the Columbus Art Commission would be the ones, I think, who would authorize a work of public art, however that's defined, in the public right of way. So,
and it wasn't that long ago that this commission did a letter of support for the utility box artwork.
Yeah.
And many of us have backed that initiative by our own Clintonville Area Commission Planning and Development Committee, and put in a letter of support supporting the utility artwork, the utility box artwork. And many of us have pledged our own personal funds towards that initiative. So utility box artwork as a sanctioned Clintonville Area Commission thing versus a member of our community who's just doing little impromptu, not going to cost anybody a dime blips of artwork that are meaningful and timely to the era.
I want to second the motion.
Thank you. Okay, shall we vote to approve with Commissioner Weatherholt's edits and Commissioner Carpenter's input with the necessary changes as prescribed, the resolution 2020-1 for the contributions of Dr. Amy Acton and the display of yarn artwork. District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
District 6.
6, yes.
District 7.
Yes.
District 8.
Yes.
And District 9 shall vote yes. Okay.
Thank you, David.
Passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Okay, we are at, nobody's kicking us out of the library tonight.
That doesn't mean we don't have to end the meeting.
Does anybody have anything else they'd like to contribute for the good of the meeting?
I just want to say that I think that you guys, Toya, my supervisor, sat in and said what a great meeting you guys had today. I think that you and Greater Southwest are the first area commissions to hold virtual meetings this month. I know everyone is slowly trickling in, but you guys have certainly been the trailblazers with the emergency election meeting last month. And I have been sharing all of the agendas and YouTube and Zoom information that you guys have created to other area commissions. So you guys have certainly been the trailblazers in all of this. And I want to congratulate you guys. I want to thank you guys. You have made my job so much easier as I'm now trying to get all my other area commissioners together. I have been using what you guys have created and implementing that elsewhere. So I just want to thank you guys for the work you guys have done.
It's taken a lot of time, BJ, I'm sure.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, BJ. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for bearing with me and affording me a margin of error, because this is a learn as you go. This is uncharted territory. So I appreciate your patience and your tolerance. So, all right. Well, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion.
Hey, good night, everybody. Thank you.
Night. Thank you.
Thanks. Night.
Night, night.